Well, it's that time again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the interview with Craig Veltri.
Thank you, Megan Pennington, and welcome to the interview. You may know our guest as a contestant on both The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise back in 2021. These days, the native of Columbia, Illinois, has been making a name as a dueling pianist and songwriter. The only description that I can give of his latest album, I Can't Wait to Tell You Everything, is deceptive. It's pleasant sounding, at times light, but songs like Workaholic, Dandelion, Passenger Princess, Two Sides of Tennessee, and Habit of This, which we will play at the end of this episode, you can seem to trace the downfall of a romance. Sounds like something I did 2 years ago. Recording in Nashville, Tennessee, and calling in from Chicago, Illinois, here he is, Connor Brennan. Connor, welcome to the interview.
Well, thanks so much, Craig. It's so good to be here.
Thanks for coming on. So, before The Bachelor, before it seems any trace of a music career, you were a math teacher, an eighth grade math teacher, if my research is correct. Were you performing at the time, or was this something that was coming on for you a little bit later in life?
Totally. So yeah, I've had a couple of different careers, but yeah, I was a math teacher for a while. I've been a musician since age 6, basically. My dad is also a musician. He plays violin, he plays guitar, he sings. So he had me start taking piano lessons when I was 6 years old. And yeah, I was up, in the church choir, did the handbells and everything. I was in like a little opera musical type thing at the church at like age 12. So performance has always been a part of my life. In middle school, I had like a rock band with my buddies and then on into high school. So huge part of my life throughout. But I've also always loved math and science. So I studied physics, and I'm actually currently a medical physicist and working fully remote. So
Oh,
I stay
heavens.
busy.
So, I mean, that's almost the Brian May sort of path of him being a physics professor,
It's incredible.
as lead guitarist for Queen. How do you find that kind of expertise feeds into the music? Usually, you seem to deal more in the human element of stuff, but is there kind of and you do play a little bit with 3/4 and different time signatures and tempo
Mm.
changes and stuff like that. Is that the math influence on it, or is it just a feel? Am I reading too
Totally. I
much?
mean, the really interesting thing is, so I was a physics major in undergrad, and basically every physics professor played an instrument and that would like get together and play folk music in the lab, like on Friday nights. So I think there's just something about physics and math and music that go really well together. I mean, Albert Einstein played instruments. He played violin to relax, basically. Um, so yeah, it makes sense to me.
Well, obviously, it's the way that you probably gained a little more of a. I guess I'll phrase that in a question later. But as I mentioned earlier, some of our viewers obviously would recognize you from your time on not one but two separate series of The Bachelor. Uh, I don't want to say what possessed you, but what compelled you, at the very least, to to put yourself out there in such a way.
Possessed is pretty good. I like that choice. It was, let's see, this was 21, so a rough time,
Oh
by all
yeah,
accounts for many people, most people.
I'd
And
say
I went
everybody.
through a breakup. Yeah, I'd say everybody. I went through a breakup in May 2020, as a lot of people did. I think everybody went through a breakup during COVID.
My marriage
Um,
was on the rocks right then, and it ended shortly after. So facts.
many such stories. And then, I was really sad after the breakup and just started doing the thing where you work out a lot and go run a lot and that sort of thing. And then one of my friends kind of just decided to nominate me for The Bachelorette. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I got a phone call one random day from an LA phone number. And they were like, hey, this is a producer from The Bachelor. I was like, haha, very funny. Like, I almost hung up. And they were like, no, 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 don't hang up. This is real. And then asked me to submit an audition tape and then went through a bunch of rounds of different things and got onto the show. It was pretty wild. All of it was, Zoom interviews. They did like a background check over Zoom and stuff like that. So it's crazy.
I mean, objectively speaking, you are a very handsome young man, but what is it about you think, or what they said, at the very least, that got them interested and eventually got you on the phone with that producer?
It's a really good question. I think it was different that I was a math teacher. And I think also in the video that I made and like submitted, I just have my friends and family. And there's like a line I remember. Obviously, my mom's a little biased because she's my mom, but
Oh,
she was
sorry.
like, he's she. I just remember her saying something like, "He's just a really good person. He's a really, really good person." And just a couple of things like that in the video that I think might have struck a chord with some of the producers. That's a guess. I have no idea. Yeah.
I want to talk a lot more about your music, so I'll give you just like one, maybe two more questions just about the Bachelor experience. Do you think that being in that kind of reality series bubble, that kind of a manufactured relationship, made for TV kind of relationship, did that affect your outlook as a writer, and did it feed into anything that happened in future songs, let's say?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I actually wrote a bunch of songs while I was there because that was I was out in the middle of nowhere in a new situation, and the way that I kind of got through that was writing songs. It's kind of like the way I journal a lot of times. And so there were songs that just kind of helped me make sense of things. It's a very emotional time too. And then everything that comes after is really confusing and weird. And I think it actually kind of drove me away from music for a while because I was scared to release music because of this weird new following and this whole thing on The Bachelor where if you start releasing music, they will say, "Oh, you were here for the wrong reasons. You didn't show up on the show for love. You came here to further your music career." And I was terrified of people saying that about me. And so I was basically scared to release music for like 2 years. I just didn't. And then finally, after a couple of years when things had died down, I was like, well, that's stupid. Why did I let that control what I wanted to do? Like, I love recording and releasing music. And so it was really freeing to kind of start not caring if people said dumb shit about me. Oh, can I cuss on this? Is this what's
Oh
the
no, we're not FCC regulated, so don't worry. Let it fly. Um,
great?
One thing I will say though, as far as doing this show, doing this show for the right reason, you seem pretty ambivalent about both experiences going forth on there. But was it just the opportunity of free vacation, or did were you alerted all by the prospect of potentially meeting a partner?
1000%. I mean, I afterwards said I would have done it without any of the cameras. I honestly would have preferred that. It
I think we all
was
would.
really an incredible experience. Yeah, it was an incredible experience in terms of like not having to, well, one of the biggest things was not having my cell phone. That was awesome. My cell phone was off for a month, and I just got to be there in a room with people, talking about feelings, talking about emotions. And that was really incredible. It was kind of the summer camp effect, I would call it. I was a camp counselor
Wow.
for a long time. And I just love that, being in a space with people and talking and not, being on the internet and worrying about all these other things. You don't have to go like grocery shopping. You don't have to go do your job. You're just kind of there and you get to talk and experience emotions and introspect and all sorts of cool stuff like that. And yeah, I think I was really open to the prospect of falling in love and finding my person. I think I'm hopeless romantic. And to the point where when I left, I was shattered. I was sobbing and in tears, and it was just an incredibly, incredibly emotional experience.
Mm. Well, It seems like you moved on with not only with your life but your music, and still gain had a very wide range of perspective on your record, which we'll talk about in a second with you, Connor Brennan, here on the Craig-Veltri interview, a service of Scarfire Media. For more on Scarfire Media, visit our website scarfireradio.net. Check out all of our artist development services, including EPK services, demo recordings. We will even help cold call like crazy to get you booked anywhere you so desire. So hit us up on scarfireradio.net and on all of social media. Now, I see the album cover for the previous record. I can't wait to tell you everything. And immediately from the pose to the blue backlighting to the way you are positioned facing to the left, I it looks like a dead ringer for Phil Collins's 1989 release, if I remember correctly, but seriously. Were you going for that? And really, I can point to one song on there that definitely has a Phil Collins vibe, 2022. Was that kind of a North Star? Because it is a record, a lot of Phil Collins records deals with love and loss.
Wow, huge compliment to be compared to Phil Collins on 2022. That's awesome. I've never heard that one before. That is really cool. I love Phil Collins. I have never seen that album cover. What's the album cover?
But
I'm looking it up.
seriously, and I'll throw up a graphic for it as well, just to see and put a side by side as well. But yeah,
Wow.
that was subliminal almost.
And he even has it in cursive in the words like mine does.
Yes.
Wow. Completely accidental. Hand to God. That is awesome though. And it looks like the vinyl is even blue on there.
Mm-hmm. Down to it.
Because my vinyl is blue as well. That is really cool. And I feel like I'm gonna have to go listen to this record now.
Something happened on the way to heaven is my favorite of his, so it's so that
Awesome.
record is incredible. But it is pretty wide ranging as far as influence is concerned. Really, from a lyrical and just melody perspective, I hear a lot of Paul Simon in there. There is a lot of piano implementation. You can't help but make the comparison to Billy Joel on it with
Mm.
this as well. And it seems to have pretty much a narrative through line. You start with Memphis, which has kind of just a aromatic theme to it. Pencil, which just kind of talks about writing, and then boom, it feels like we've gotten to a story. So, did you come into this record with a concept through line narrative, or is this just how the writing kind of played out?
Yeah, 1,000%. I would call it a concept album. The concept being getting my heart shattered, which I guess is a lot of concepts for a lot of albums. But yeah, it is really a through line and it's kind of a story told in order. And so I think of it in terms of the front half and the back half of the album. And that's even how it's reflected on the vinyl itself. The front half is kind of it's bittersweet, but more happy, more upbeat. It's the new exciting relationship. It's falling in love, and then starting to see some odd things happen, and just feeling a little weird about it. But then the second half is the descent into heartbreak and simultaneous kind of battle with depression and figuring that out at the same time. And so it's very much a concept album and it's a story crafted to really tell exactly the way I wanted it to be told.
Yeah, the final track, I mean, is you do feel the highs and the highs, but on the final track, and forgive me as I'm pulling notes here to remind myself of what that last track was called, Out Loud.
Out loud.
it
Yeah.
it it if you seem devastated at that current state, just a safety check. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Oh, these songs were, that one was written over a year ago. Life is so much better now. I'm writing happy music for the first time, which is kind of crazy. I'm so much better at writing sad music.
For the first time, I mean, you kind of have the I've often quoted Tom Waits on this program. I like it when beautiful melodies tell me horrible things, terrible things. And and I love Dandelion, especially just because it is, it's like all of a sudden the tempo at the end of it just sounds so rollicking, and it really gets into gear, and just the making of it. Obviously, this came from pure inspiration, but as far as the musical writing is and concern of it, is it music or lyrics first for you? Are you some where was this coming out, or was this coming out at once, perhaps?
Yeah, it's different song to song, but a lot of times it's kind of simultaneous. I guess I lean a little more towards music first, where I'll sit down and just kind of start playing something, start experimenting with chords, and then maybe start singing, and if it's gibberish or just like see what words come out. And then
Vowel movements is what Billy Joel calls that.
that's good. I'd never heard that one before. Vowel movements. I like that. Yeah, exactly. And then kind of sitting down and writing the lyrics from there once I have a little bit of an idea and then fleshing it out. And that's one of my favorite parts, though, is sitting with a notebook. Once I have kind of the form of the song, sitting and writing lyrics and trying a few different things and sitting on, my floor and then walking around the room. And that's one of my favorite parts because that's the work of songwriting is really getting the lyrics dialed in.
And what I really did love about the record is just even though obviously you leaned into the instrumentation choices. Was this album self-produced, or did you have somebody else helping you with arrangement?
We had a great producer named Jared Kay, and he helped with arrangement a bit, but a lot of it we fleshed out ahead of time. Just kind of, I was living in St. Louis. It's my sister on drums, and then my buddy on guitar, my other buddy on bass, and a couple friends singing harmonies. And it was kind of three of us in the basement. Just I'd bring them a song, we'd start working through ideas. It's really cool working with my sister on drums because we've known each other whole lives basically. And so I
What's
can
the
be
age
like,
difference?
she is 29, just turned 29, so about 4 years
Okay.
younger. And it's like I can say stuff like, oh, can you do like a bop bop bop? And she will just immediately do exactly what I meant, even if no other person on the planet would know what I was talking.
Hmm.
So that's really, yeah, it's been a dream come true to finally do a full album with her on drums.
Jumping back to your father being a violinist, did you guys jam as a family ever?
Oh yeah, all the time. We still do. I just went home a month ago and sat around the campfire and played guitars and sang. So we've played shows before. My dad and I used to do weddings often where I'd play piano and he'd play violin. And normally when we get into a show, we get him up on stage to play some fiddle or sing or that sort of thing. So definitely a family endeavor. My mom is not musical, uh, but we call her the page turner because she would show up and flip the pages for us. Extremely supportive.
There's an episode of Laverne and Shirley, one of the first performances of Ziggy and the Squig Tones, where they just have a guy who just stands over and just shifts over the
Awesome.
sheet music. So that's what comes to mind for me on when you say a page turner. We're here with Connor Brennan on the Craig-Veltri interview on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network. Check out Fire Pit, the Cool Brother Podcast, and all the great podcasts we have here on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network, scarfireradio.net. Back to the band, that element of things. So is that your sister and the actual artists that or musicians, I should say, playing on the record in the Passenger Princess video, and I presume a Howl at the Moon location in Chicago?
That's exactly right. You did your homework. Yep. So I that's my sister on drums. That is most of the correct band, but like if people could get to Chicago or not, that was the deal. So sometimes we had a sit-in or two. But yeah, those are the whole group went down with me to Nashville. We spent about a week last September. Again, worked with the producer Jared Kay, who is incredible. I found him because there's an artist named Ruston Kelly. Do you know of Ruston Kelly? If not,
I
you
am
should check him
not.
out.
I'm always
He's incredible.
interested to hear of new people, of
Yeah.
course.
Check out Ruston Kelly. He's kind of folk, Americana, country vein. Incredible lyrics.
My
Really,
listeners are
that
like,
album.
listen to him now. But
Yeah. Oh, he's so good. And so his album Dying Star really helped get me through some of what I was going through and just the lyricism of it. But more than that, the way the drums and the bass sounded on that album were just so incredible. And not just well produced, but with so much character. They really are just this incredible character that I'd never heard on another album before. And that was produced by Jared Kay. And so I found out he lived in Nashville, which was not that far from St. Louis, and I love Nashville anyway. And so reached out to him and was like, it would be a dream to work with you. And he said yes.
So working in that element, and you bring up the bass line of it, and Passenger Princess. I'll link to it in the description, but we will play uh, Habit of This as the since it was the lead single, kind of kicks off the record, very driving. But I do love in Passenger Princess just how the bass kicks it off, how the guitar comes in, how the piano comes in, and the tone of that bass guitar. It is indeed a bass guitar working on it, and it is just I hate to use the term groovy, but I'm going to go with it. It
It's
just kicks such
groovy.
a groove on that on that record. So, do you have a name for that bass player? And again, was that build such as such a note from you, or was that the idea that you guys kicked around once you hit the studio?
Yeah, that is such a great question. So bass player's name is Brandon Jensen. One of my best friends. He lives in Madison, Wisconsin. We were in a band together when I lived in Madison called Woodrow, kind of an indie pop, indie rock band. Some of the best memories of my life with that band. We put out a couple albums, um, absolute blast. So he was a guitarist for that band, but he is one of the most accomplished musicians I know. You can put him on any instrument, and he's just incredible. And so yeah, his bass lines just are the cement for that album with my sister on drums as well. That intro in particular, the bass line starts off the whole song. It was actually Nick playing on guitar to start. That was going to be the intro. We were in the studio tracking this. And then Brandon was sitting there with the bass, just messing around while we were waiting for a couple, mics to be set up and just trying to see if he could play that intro on bass. Not even trying to, he just immediately could play it because he's incredible. And we all were like, whoa, that sounds really good on bass. We were going to do it on guitar, but you hear the bass first, then the guitar on top of it, and then the piano comes in, then the drums. So yeah.
It's a fabulous build, but the reason I chose a Habit of This to lead with, because it in retrospect of the record, it really just kicks off the story, and it really does have, like I said, just a very airy, almost light kind of vibe. And as the record goes down, it seems to get heavier and heavier and heavier. Habit of This, as usual, or not as usual, but to begin and on subject. What can you just remember the phrasing of Habit of This? Instead of saying I can get used to this, I can make a habit of this. Was it as simple as the turn of a phrase, or how did that one hit you?
Mm. That is, I have to think back on that because that's one of the oldest ones on the record because it started everything. So I would have written that probably before any of the other songs on the album, except for maybe, no, I think it was even before Pencil. And so I wrote it originally on guitar. I remember just kind of sitting down, and I remember the 200 miles between us line kind of popped out as I was just doing something with the guitar. And then I think initially it might have been we shouldn't or we can. It was a slightly different. And then just something about we can't make a habit of this just kind of popped out. And I was like, that is perfect because that's exactly the mood I was trying to capture of kind of already knowing deep down that something wasn't gonna work out. Like it was this thing I was really excited about, but knowing that like we shouldn't do this again type of thing. And so it was, after a first date or after a couple first dates or something like that. And it was just knowing already where things were gonna go.
Preview of coming attractions for my next record. Check out Moonshine Vagabonds, coming out in 2026. A record called
Oh yeah.
called Inside the Cabin, which will describe something similar to all of that. And I'll talk more off the air because
Awesome.
I really don't want to self-aggrandize, even though my name
Oh,
is
please
on the
do.
show. So
That's awesome.
please. But I will say that, seems that you've really created just such a unique sound for all of it. It's difficult for me to get the initial flavoring down to a science. I've already mentioned a few others. If anything, I do hear like maybe like mid 2000s pop, like the good era of Maroon 5 come out of this record. Are these soundscapes that you're sticking with, or are you for the stuff that's coming up, are you broadening the horizons further?
Yeah, that's a really great question too. I spent a lot of time kind of worrying about genre and like, oh, are some of these songs too different? And then I was like, that's silly. I want to make the songs that I want to make, and each song is going to be its own best version of that song. And it doesn't matter if it's slightly different or slightly different genre. So yeah, love the sounds on this album, but I also really love pop music, or what I would call bedroom pop. And that's just kind of,
Bedroom pop. What do you mean
sitting.
by that?
It's pop music that you make in your bedroom. It's a guy with a computer, girl with a computer, just putting together Logic Pro samples and stuff like that.
See, mine was go when I heard bedroom, I was thinking like slow jams or something like that.
That applies too. But I released a couple of what I would call bedroom pop songs a little over a year ago. One's called October, one's called August, and those were self-produced, where it was kind of just me with my nice microphone and like a guitar and kind of putting together pop music, and I really loved it, and I love doing that. So that might be next. I also love working with a full band. It's just takes a lot more, and you have to get a studio and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure where we go next. I'm also trying to keep myself from thinking about the next project because that's what I always do. And so I'm so proud of this project. I want to stay in it for a while and talk about it and stay here before I immediately start thinking about the next thing. I'm sure you're like that too. As soon as you release something, it's like, what's next?
I mean, when excuse me, as as I was not only putting out the previous record, and which was about the disentanglement of my marriage and my newfound sobriety. I already found myself at a point of getting wary of just continuing to talk about it. So I was more than ready when that record was done to move on to the next thing in my experience. But so as far as moving on, you've already mentioned two other singles coming up. When can we expect new music from your side of the country?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the two singles were last year, so those are already released.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, for now, I am trying to decide if I want to work on another record, or my dream has also always been to write a musical. So that might be the next thing I focus on I'm in Chicago. That's part of the reason I'm here is for the theater scene. So I really would love to finish a musical and kind of make an album out of that.
You say finish. Can you discuss what the concept of that would be, the theme, the story?
Totally. I've got a couple different ideas I've been tossing around. The dream one that I want to eventually do is a musical about the life and times of Thomas Edison. I think it could be a folk opera, which would be really cool.
Oh, yeah,
Very
that
fascinating story. Yeah, folk opera could be perfect. It's a really fascinating story that gets a lot of people get stuff wrong when they start talking about it, or they're like, oh, he stole ideas, or like Tesla's better, or blah blah blah. Just a lot of misconceptions out there, and I've read a ton about it, and we just owe a lot to Thomas Edison. He's not just the light bulb guy; he also invented the phonograph, which is the reason we have recorded music to begin with. He was the first person ever to record sound. He also, was the first person to film like a movie. So we just owe him a ton, and it's a really, really cool story. And I've written some songs like for a musical version of it, and I think, yeah, that's the dream.
well, I mean, I think I'd pay money just to see the battle rap between Edison and Tesla myself, but folk opera, I think, would be an incredible spin on that story and that life story. Well, Connor, we have a nice way of closing here on the Craig-Veltri interview. It's called the No Kidding Questionnaire. A couple of rapid fire questions. The first thing that comes to your mind whenever you're ready, and away we go. Childhood celebrity crush.
Great. Hayden Panettiere.
Mm. I know a girl who knew. I know a girl who knew a girl who worked with Ms. Pantier. What was it about her on Heroes or whatever she was on back
It
in the
was
day? Day.
Heroes. It was Heroes for sure. And then Bring It On All or Nothing. I have that on DVD somewhere.
Have we discovered your type as a result, or is that
That one of my types. I got a couple. I definitely like blondes and girls who can speak Spanish. That's where I gravitate towards.
well, what is your favorite subject? What was as a math teacher, and I think we already discussed a couple of it, your favorite things in school, but what was your favorite subject in school? Gun to the head. What were your favorite subject in school?
I loved physics, but I didn't get a chance to take a physics class until senior year of high school. And so that's when I was like, oh, this is awesome. Before that, I knew I loved science. I knew I really enjoyed math, but I also loved um, like writing as well. But yeah, I'd say physics was when it all came together. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I love
What
physics.
was it, do you think?
It was the fact that you could explain things that were happening around you and think about things and kind of like I could take a baseball and throw it up in the air and there could be an equation to describe that. That was so cool to me. Like I could tell you exactly where a baseball was going to be after 5 seconds. And it surrounds us constantly, all the time, everywhere. So still love
What
physics.
you've done much in your life and career. What is the one occupation other than your own that you would like to attempt?
I actually was thinking about this last week and talking about it. Um, Being a producer or an audio engineer, I think would be absolutely incredible. Even just having done a little bit of it on my own, I would love to study the physics of sound and like mixing in particular and why certain things sound good and don't. So just in general, like to have my own studio and to get to help other people record, that would be the dream. So
Something that has always kind of tickled my fancy and why I enjoy doing podcasting and my own demos these days is something that my friend Dallas Jack, who's been on this program, he said, really the only thing you need to become a producer these days is a laptop. So, you know,
true, absolutely.
on the other side of the coin, Connor, what I don't care how many bags of money have been handed to you, what job, under no circumstances, would you ever want to attempt? And to help you jog your memory, or the answer, I should say, it can be something that you have done before.
Oh man, what wouldn't I want to do? Oh, anything that involves me sitting at a desk for 8 hours. I tried that and I was miserable. So I work remote now, and so I can get up and move around, and I'm not trapped in an office. But especially being kind of trapped in an office by myself, never again. It drove me crazy. I
Mm.
have to get up, I have to move, I have to be talking to people. Anything where I'm on my own, not my favorite, because I'm a very social person. I love talking to people.
Or being in a call center, trauma bonding with your fellow coworkers. It's I'm with you there. It's why I do this for a living
Yeah,
now.
nice.
You talked about the 200 miles between in Tennessee, meaning you probably have been on the road quite a bit. So, Connor, what is your go-to food on the road trip?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. I have narrowed in the past year or two my all-time snack, my like go-to. I could eat this every day for lunch and I'd be happy. It's an Uncrustable. It's a banana, a bag of like skinny pop popcorn, and a LaCroix. Absolute top tier. When I get to a gas station and I find these three or four objects, it's over. It's done.
It almost sounds like a school lunch. The
Yeah.
brown bag.
It's basically a middle school lunch.
Hey, there's a certain comfort to a PB and J. I ain't knocking it. Well, probably something a little more elaborate as far as the cuisine. But if you have could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Wow, that's a question.
My favorite one to
Um,
ask.
that's really good. A couple ideas off the dome, but I think one that comes to mind, if it's dead or alive, I never got to meet my mom's dad, my grandpa. And by all accounts, he was a really, really incredible guy. He was a pastor and kind of like a pillar of the community. But also, if you've read To Kill a Mockingbird, he gets compared to like Atticus Finch, just
Really?
like this super kind, really wise person. Um, and yeah, he died before I was born. And actually, my dad never even got to meet him because he passed from cancer when my mom was 21, I think. And so my dad always felt robbed that he never got to meet him. And that's kind of the way we've talked about it too. So I think it would be really fascinating to sit down and get to have a conversation. So that's just first blush. That's my answer.
I would take that dinner with my maternal grandfather as well. I never met
Mhm.
him either. He was a jazz bass player, merchant marine, got through Georgetown
Wow.
on the GI Bill. There is a reel to reel footage somewhere in my family's numerous storage locations of him having a chat with his old buddy Dizzy Gillespie in New Orleans. So so cool
That is
dude.
cool.
I would have loved to do it, and that's probably why I had the ear for that bass line that we were talking about earlier on the
That's
record.
awesome.
So, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve. Um, yeah, I mean the easy one is anytime people are like weird or rude to wait staff. I think
Oh, that's a
that's
deal
pretty,
breaker.
yeah, exactly. I think most of us are like that now, luckily. Like our generation and below, pretty nice to wait staff. But that's the big one is, yeah, if you see someone being rude to wait staff or like someone they see is working for them or something like that, it's a deal breaker for sure.
I consider myself, and I know you work with Hal the Moon as one of your main vocations as well when you're on the road. That you and I are basically service industry adjacent. So when we're watching
For sure.
somebody be rude to a wait staff, you may as well be standing in front of the stage demanding free bird in front of us as well. So
There's always one.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be another pet peeve is because I do a lot of dueling piano shows too, or like at Howl at the Moon. That's one is I'll be halfway through a song, literally singing on a microphone, and someone will come up to the stage and start asking me questions
yeah,
while I am talking. Like I'm literally singing. I'm like, I can't help you right now. I
yeah,
am
ladies and gentlemen, we
performing.
can't even hear what you're saying. Wait.
That's a huge pet peeve. And there's other people to talk to on this. Go talk to the pianist who's not playing a song currently. Like,
Hmm. Yeah. And don't get me started about the ones that try to get on the microphone uninvited. So, we another favorite question in there. We can go all day. This is usually the last question of the questionnaire. But what is the best advice, Connor, that anyone has ever given you?
that is probably gonna be from my dad. And I think about this a lot, and I think it's really formed a lot of the ways that I approach music and performance. And it even goes along with what you're saying about like kind of being part of the service industry almost. My dad said the most important thing for a musician, beyond talent, beyond practice, beyond anything else, is humility. And
Yep.
that yeah, it doesn't matter how great your performance is if you walk off stage and act like you're all that. It kind of, ruins it and it sours it. And that's one of the most incredible things is when you go see someone perform and you meet them afterwards and they are just so humble and grateful and have this gratitude that you're there. And so that is so hugely important to me. And what goes along hand in hand with that is that we're not up there on stage to show off or to say, hey, look at me, look how great I am. We're there as servants of the audience.
Mhm.
We're there to bring people together um, and to help them experience emotion, whether that's the joy, whether that's sorrow, whatever we're doing there isn't, hey, look at me. It's, hey, look what we can experience together. Music, it can be easy to get jaded, at a piano bar if you're playing 3 or 4 nights a week, you're playing Sweet Caroline for the 100th time, or Piano Man for the 100th
Uh,
time. Yeah, but then you realize like this could be the best night of someone's week or somebody's month. They're out with their friends. Maybe this is the only chance they've had to kind of let loose and have fun. And look at how they are singing Sweet Caroline with their friends and laughing and having a blast. And that is so important. And that's what I think is so important and what we're all about as musicians.
It does bring you back to it. I think everybody, if you're honest about anybody's career, and I think it's easy to get big headed when you're the center of their attention most of the time. But ultimately, you're there because somebody is looking for you to pull something from thin air that wasn't there before, and to make the night incredibly memorable. So I sign off on that entirely. This is the question that I like to give anybody that I find out in my research or in the interview was a teacher or is a teacher. And I call it the Lonnie Billard Memorial question, which goes as follows. Maybe not the best advice that you've given your students, but what is the most common advice that you found yourself giving your students?
I was a math teacher, and so the question we got literally daily was, Mr. Brennan, how are we ever going to use this in everyday life? It's everyone's question when it comes to math. And what I would always say is, well, in general, I use it all the time. But even if you're not using this equation, or if you don't remember this exact thing, we're not just teaching you equations, we're also teaching you how to think and how to approach problems and how to solve problems. So even if you don't remember, the area of a circle, you remember the process of what it feels like to start from the beginning, to find what you need to find, to take these different puzzle pieces and put them together to find a solution. And that is so incredibly valuable, even if you're not using math in your life, which I beg to differ because we all use math all the time.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
But even if you want to say that we don't, there is so much value in learning to solve problems and not get upset when you see some numbers or have to put a problem together. And then it's also that math is really, really beautiful. And I'm not just here to try to bore you with facts and figures. I'm trying to show the students, or at least I was when I was a teacher, why it is so cool and why physics is cool. It's not just I'm showing you this because I have to and you have to. No, this is amazing. We can model how something moves. We could look at this and that. It's just that was one of my big things, was trying to make things applicable, not just dry equations.
I mean, anybody that's ever found themselves at a gas pump and just looking at the numbers without even thinking, you're like, okay, that was what my last. Even if you don't carry cash anymore, it's like, okay, what was on my balance prior to this, and what do I have in there now, and what do I have to pay off next, and then that. So you are using math every day and calculating if you continue to use the driving analogy, and especially if you're a musician, that 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. So
counting to 8, counting to 4.
Well, Connor, this is the part of the show that every single guest should enjoy the most. It is time for shameless self-promotion. The new album is out. A potential musical is on the way. How can we keep track of all of that? Plug your pluggables. Fire away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Basically, I usually post everything to Instagram. So it's just Connor Falcon, Connor Falcon on Instagram. And really,
dare
the
I
main
ask,
thing
was that a former stage name or
Great question. It was my camp name when I was a camp counselor. So we didn't use names. We were all named after animals. And so I was Falcon. And so I spent many summers answering to Falcon and just got used to it. And so it made its way into my Facebook name and then my Instagram name.
Connor Falcon? Connor Brennan is a name I can see on a marquee. Maybe consider rebranding, because Connor Falcon does sound like somebody who's going to conquer the world. So.
Thanks. It's almost like Johnny Cougar Mellencamp type of thing.
Well, Johnny hated that name, and that was bestowed on him by a record label. But just something to consider. But please continue on. You were talking about your Instagram.
Yeah, the main thing is Spotify. That's where, the record is everywhere, but it's on Spotify. It's called I Can't Wait to Tell You Everything. And I also have it on vinyl, which is really exciting. This was such a process to get done, and it's the first time I've ever done it. I don't have sales for it yet, but I'm putting together like an online store to sell it. And I also have I have it on CD, and then I have these little hats that say Passenger Princess that are really cool. They're like denim. So,
Well, I congratulate you on that on that vinyl and that release. It is a great record. I highly recommend anybody who has gotten this far in the interview just get through to the music video and listen to the record in full. It is quite an experience. You took us on quite a journey, and I'm glad you're out on the other side of it with some positivity and things to look forward to. Connor Brennan, thank you so much for joining me today on the Craig-Veltri interview.
it was an honor. Thank you so much, Craig. Appreciate it.
The Craig-Veltri interview, where Craig-Veltri interviews wonderful people, is a production of Scarfire Media, the voice of the independent artist. Written and edited by Craig-Veltri. Your announcer is Megan Pennington. The opening theme, Shut Up, I Love You, written by Trenton Chandler and Craig-Veltri, performed by Craig-Veltri, produced by Jack Gavin. The new single, Saving Up Dreams, is available now on all streaming. Moonshine Vagabonds' debut record, Inside the Cabin, will be recorded mid-December in Nashville, Tennessee. Megan and I are looking forward to be going out to Tennessee with our friend Dallas Jack to cut that record. More information will be coming in the coming weeks, so keep it locked on Scarfire Media social media, Megan Pennington's social media, and my social media. Time now to update the event calendar, because you must know where I am at all times. Friday, the 24th, I will be at Grapes in a Glass in Canton, Ohio from 8 to 11 p.m. Then on Saturday, the 25th, the Vagabonds ride again. Craig-Veltri and the Vagabonds at Tin Roof Memphis on Beale Street from 10:30 to 2:30. Then on Saturday, the 31st, Halloween in some places, I will be playing with Megan Pennington, the Moonshine Vagabonds ride again at Altered Genius Brewing in Ambridge, Pennsylvania from 7 to 10 p.m. Monday, November the 10th, the Scarfire takeover of the Mr. Smalls Cafe Acoustic Cafe open mic. Doors open downstairs at Mr. Small's Cafe at 5 p.m. for check-in. Sign-ins begin around 6:30 p.m. Show from 7 to 11 p.m. They have a full back line, and if you want a band for your songs, they got a house band ready to play for you. So, Monday, November the 10th, 7 to 11 p.m. if you just want to watch the show, 5 o'clock if you want to get on the show. It's the Mr. Small's Acoustic Cafe Scarfire takeover in Millvale, Pennsylvania. Then on November 16th, Megan and I will be making our first appearance together on the Grassroots Show on 97.7 WRGG in Butler, Pennsylvania. Our friends Bob Cup and Utah Burgess will welcome the Moonshine Vagabonds into their studio, and we look forward to playing for them on the same day as the Scarfire Takeover. That's going to be a busy Monday for me and Megan, but we look forward to making the appearance, and we look forward to, for the first time really anywhere, for you guys to hear some of the songs that Megan and I are cooking up for Inside the Cabin by Moonshine Vagabonds. For full dates, including Charlotte, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, Columbia, South Carolina, and Raleigh, North Carolina, visit my website, craig-veltri.bandzoogle.com. For booking info, including full band and this podcast, email me at craig-veltriofficial@gmail.com. You can find the interview on Facebook by searching the Craig-Veltri interview, YouTube at Craig-Veltri Music, and you can find me on Instagram, or as my old roommate, the Tommy Thomas, used to call it, Instagirl, at craig.veltri. With special thanks to Kim Maverick. For Connor Brennan, I'm Craig-Veltri, and this has been the Craig-Veltri interview. With that, I'll pass. Off the album, I Can't Wait to Tell You Everything, here's Connor Brennan with Habit of This on the Craig-Veltri interview, proud member of the Scarfire Media Podcast Network.
From a week ago, but she doesn't care about that, so we leave the 45 spinning for a while. She makes a joke about moving in, I'm laughing and playing along, falling asleep while we're arguing where to live. something at the top of your lungs. I'll watch you wave through my rear view. Want you to keep me on the tip of your tongue. Whoa, 200 miles between us. Still got the taste of you on my lips. Last call, speak up, I need you. But honey, we can make a habit of this. A battery-operated microphone. We're driving circles around the hotel. Started off as a bit, now I'm into it. And now she's talking a mile a minute, while I'm still rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Silence is intimate. Oh, speak up, honey, I need you. Tell me something at the top of your lungs. I'll watch you wave through my rear view. Want you to keep me on the tip of your tongue. Whoa, 200 miles between us. Still got the taste of you on my lips. Last call, speak up, I need you. But honey, we can make a habit of it. When I missed that call and I drove back home, and I don't know why, but I wish you would. Speak up, honey, I need you. Tell me something at the top of your lungs. I'll watch you wave through my rear view. Want you to keep me on the tip of your tongue. Whoa, 200 miles between us. Still got the taste of you on my lips. Last call, speak up, I need you. But only we can make a habit of this.